Man, okay, let's start getting into some of these questions I have for you,
Sure.
man. Can you tell I guess your musician journey of becoming a producer or just playing instruments? Let's go from the top for you.
I appreciate the question. I don't get asked it a lot. Because I tend to put a lot of the energy on the musicians I'm working with, and it's nice to get asked the question.
Yeah,
Um,
come
yeah,
on.
I mean, so it's really simple. It's really interesting because 1984 is when I started playing classical piano, and I was about like turning 4 years old.
Okay.
And to this day, it's actually still like my a primary instrument to me in terms. I don't play it the most, but it's familiar. And the point being is, you know, from the age of like 4 till I want to say like 12 years old, I was strictly only listening to classical music. I ended up really getting into Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, and once I got over, the general fare of like Mozart and Bach and all that, like I realized like I started to get like composers that were like my favorites kind of popping out, like Debussy, Wagner. I started getting really into stuff, and I was strictly a classical music guy, at a young age. And it's funny because there's so much rock history with you and me, and it's like people always
Yeah.
ask, well, what's the transition? Well, this is where it gets interesting. So both my brothers are, so they're, I'm the youngest of three boys. One's 7 years older, one's 11 years older, and they're both musicians. The one that's older, of course, had his heyday in the 80s and early 90s, and of course my brother Dustin, who's a major part of my history in terms of becoming part of the industry. Actually,
Oh man.
he played electric guitar, and I mean to this day, actually still one of my most favorite guitar heroes. Not just because I was around him, he just has a very unique style. He is in love with harmonic minor. That's geeky conversation for another time. Anyway,
It's
I,
all
I'm not.
right.
Yeah, I'm just reminiscing about my brother. But
Right.
anyway, yeah. So he man, William, you're not going to believe this. People don't believe when I say this. From the age of 4 to 12, I absolutely loathed, I hated the sound of the electric guitar. I did not understand the fucking purpose of that instrument. It sounded disgusting by itself.
Oh,
It always sounded like an untamed animal that you would never get a control of. The feedback, the string noise. I'm like, what the fuck? Who the fuck likes this? I
right.
never. I'm a child, of course, but I had my preferences, and I was like, I don't understand. My brother's always going around playing fucking Eruption and shit. I'm like, oh fuck that.
Right.
I hate this sound.
Right.
One day I remember, never forget this. I got my yellow belt for karate that day, and I remember it's in 1992, and I remember I was still had my gi on, I was still sweaty, and I was playing Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo.
Right.
My brother Dustin comes in the room, and he like pops over two PV practice amps, like these little 8-inch PV Rages, and I still have one, and he pops them right in my bedroom, and I'm like, oh God, what are you doing now? And he's my older brother. He's trolling me all the time. So he's like, just shut up, shithead. Play your stupid game. I'm gonna show you something. And I'm like, oh God. This is where it gets interesting. He, I guess, had just learned how to connect his boss pedals such that he made two different delays at two different times. So essentially a stereo delay, right?
Right.
And they were feeding these two amps. And here we go again. He turns the volume up, and I hear the crunching of the string. I'm like, oh God, this instrument. He hits the third fret of the A string. He hits an E. He hits the note C. Feedback starts. I hate that sound at
Right.
this time. And he starts bending the feedback into a melody. And I was like, wait a minute. That instrument can do that. And that is
Mm.
when I wanted to play that instrument immediately.
Really?
Immediately, because of the fact that, see, I'm on a piano, I'm on a keyboard, and I'm locked to these perfect tones. Guitar, you can bend things and glissando them into semitones and microtones and everything in between. And I understood now the beauty of feedback and what you can do with it, and you can turn it almost into a. In it, to me, it was like, okay, that's the electric guitar version of like a violin or a viola solo, just loud
Right.
and abrasive. And so immediately I looked at him and go, all right, I get it. And I think that was his plan, because he pulled out a 1975 Les Paul Standard. I'll never forget it. Tobacco Burst. Put it in my lap. He goes, you can borrow this. And he taught me how to play. First song I ever learned to play on guitar, electric guitar, is Heart-Shaped Box.
No way.
Yeah, and he
Nirvana
taught
song.
me. Yeah, he taught me that, and of course, which was interesting. And this leads into my history with you at DEA. Is Heart-Shaped Box is in a drop D tuning. So I was only learning in that tuning, not understanding it wasn't normal for the electric guitar or any guitar, any 6-string guitar.
Okay.
And so I called my brother and I go, I found out I had a really good ear at this point, and I'm listening to Led Zeppelin. And I go, why does my guitar you gave me, I can't play the same stuff Jimmy Page is playing? And he's laughing. He goes, we're talking on a on a landline while he's in, because it's so long ago, while he's in the university. And he's like, dude, it's because you're in this fucked up tuning. I can't explain it to you. It's called drop D. Don't worry about it. Here, learn something else in drop D. I go, I don't know what that means. And he goes, all right, there's this new video that just came out. It's black and white. There's like a dude with dreads, looks Mexican. He's like rapping. Like, look for that video on MTV. And I was like, okay. And it was Rage Against the Machine, Freedom.
Oh,
you're right.
Okay. Okay.
And I learned it by ear within 2 minutes, just listening to the MTV. And I was like, okay. Then my brother went to Blockbuster Music and he bought me the CD, and I learned it everything by ear from top to bottom, including the solos. I learned everything by ear in less than 2 weeks. And that's when I realized, number one, my ear is crazy. Number two, I had an affinity for this instrument. It was addicting to play. And it made me learn the blues pentatonic scale in D minor very quickly because of Tom Morello. And that set me up. Like, that was so from that point on, I'm trying not to go too long on this, but because it's a rich history. So this is where it gets interesting. I'm 3 months into that instrument. My brother already is a veteran making his badass bands. He's starting a new band, and he says, Dean, do you want to play in this one? And I go, I don't even know what the fuck that means, because I'm 12 and I study Greek mythology and I have no friends, and I play Final Fantasy, and he goes, well, we're going to go to the 3rd floor of our house, our family home. And he brought friends over that played drums and bass terribly, I might say. Oh. But still they're keeping a beat. And we play this really simple riff that he had written, a song we wrote called Unrestrained. And we did it. And I felt, and I know you remember this, I think we all have that moment when you locked in for the first time live in a practice space with musicians. Yeah. There was a dopamine hit you'll never feel again, right? Like when you lock in with musicians in a band for the first time. Yeah. And I was like, holy crap, I get it. I'm a fan of this instrument now. I love rock. And I went fucking crazy. So that was the age of grunge and post hair metal. And I went nuts and all that. And the drummer would leave, and I would go to the 3rd floor when he'd go to school for the week, and I'd look at this fucking shitty Tama Rockstar that looked like it had mold on it, with back in the day the budget cymbals were called, remember, Zildjian Amir?
Oh my! I used to have some.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? Because the Amir ones were just metal plates, but the Amir 2s actually were B8 alloy. Very interesting. So drummer nerd stuff, but
exactly.
but he had the Amir 1, so it just sounded like you were hitting like metal plates. I didn't know the difference, and I just sat behind this kit, and I remember I didn't have any reference. I didn't listen to any. I mean, I might have listened to. Yes, we just took a trip to the Philippines, and Undone, the Sweater song, Weezer came out.
Oh, okay.
And how perfect is that for someone to go, oh, well, in my mind, dude, cats, dun, cat, the whole song, right? Yeah. So I sat behind that kit, and again, in a much smaller period of time than most people, I want to say within 2 hours, I was able to play through the whole thing with I put headphones on, and I knew which crash left and right. I could hear it. And I also knew, okay, hats here or whatever these things are called, yeah. And then ride here, and then oh, there's a pedal for the hat that explains the verses. And I'm learning all this, and that's when I realized, holy shit, I love this instrument, like the drums. I was like, holy shit. I got to this day, I get questions now. Dean, you play so many instruments. What's your, when you're on your own device, you just want to have fun. What is the first thing you go to? No question, I go to a drum set.
Yeah.
So that's my, and you understand.
Yeah.
And so yeah. And so that was that. And then basically, just to skip through some context, the idea here is, I started then jamming with my own friends in high school that were my age. Because remember, my brothers are quite older.
Yep.
And we're doing our thing and learning that way, and I'm going to different garages. And my dad bought me a Marshall half stack, and I was carting it around, and my brother or my mom would drop me off with that thing. I'm like ruining the Mercedes leather with that cabinet, like just doing all that. And I realized, so the band ended up doing well with my brother, and we ended up getting you and I are old enough. You remember back in the day, they'd discover us, and they meaning LA would send A&R out to wherever we were. Sometimes could be Baltimore, could be Houston, Texas in my case, and they did. And then we ended up getting called over to LA for showcases, like private showcases, when that used to happen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I remember we played in a rehearsal space called Leeds in Burbank. We were there for a week. We played for, long story short, what it turned into, we ended up looking at pretty serious record deals, like in front of us at the time, and I realized at that time, this is crazy. We had toured, we had played. I mean, my guitar rig and my tone had really perfected itself, because, I'm a tech nerd too. So it all came together. My brother and I had already done a lot of professional songwriting through ASCAP for some independent film and TV. So we had a lot of experience doing that.
Right.
And like all of us did, my brother had a Tascam 4-track. I learned how to use that. And I realized, William, like, as we're about to sign over or make steps that it was going to cement that band, I was going to become a touring guitar player for this band,
Right.
and dude, I mean, the industry had a lot of belief in us, man. I was told that they're expecting me to be some version of the next Jimi Hendrix or the next Van Halen or something because of my guitar playing and all this. And I just looked at my brother and I went, and I was so young. I don't know how I had this clarity. And I went, this must have been late 90s, early 2000s. I probably was like 19. And I looked at him and I go, I'm really sorry about this. It's not going to make sense to you. I'm not supposed to do this. And in his brain, it's probably like, oh God, he's a kid. He doesn't get it. He should. This is like a dream gig. And I go, no, it's not that. I think I'm supposed to look after everyone else's product.
Oh,
I had that clarity at 19 years old. And I was like, I think because I learned these instruments so quickly and so deeply, almost to master level in some cases early in my life, I was like, I think I'm given this talent, whether you call it from God, the universe, whatever it is. I mean, I'm an atheist, but I mean, I still open my mind, and I'm like, I was given this gift, and I don't think I'm supposed to be like on stage, like, gaining experience points to my ego. I think I'm supposed to take care of everyone else. And that's what I started doing. I went to college, and I brought that 4-track with me, and I would like rent these little rooms in the dormitories that you're supposed to use for like studying and shit. But I would bring guitar players down there, drum machines, and I started building my my mindset and repertoire as a producer. And when I left University of Texas in 2000 of Austin in 2002, I moved to Santa Monica and faced the storm, and
wow.
And here's the other thing is that you got to understand, while this is all happening, right? This is the age of tape, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to love this. I'm a big gamer. I still am.
Yep.
And
I forgot about that.
yeah, and back in the early 90s, your parents, it's like Sega and Nintendo released only the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, right? And my mom said, you can't have both, pick one. So I chose the Super Nintendo because the graphics processor was better. But there was all these Sega games I wanted to play. So, but my point is, the studio we would go to record our stuff had a Sega Genesis in it.
Okay.
And the recording engineer, producer that we were working with, he said if I helped clean up and stuff, or maybe even learn and help around on certain things, I'd be allowed to play the Genesis while they were cleaning up after our sessions. So I stayed there to play the Sega, but they would pull me from it and teach me tape machine calibration. They would teach me like little, like, what a patch bay was, and
Right.
maybe I'd help out with this and that, and that was the beginning. And then from there, through Austin, through a lot of commercial studios there, I would ask to help. I just kind of offered myself as a runner or like a intern type without pay, and I did a lot of that. And then when I got to LA, I faced a storm.
Yeah.
I lied to Musicians Institute, and I told them I didn't know anything about recording, so that number one, they would take me into the recording program, because number two, after 3 months, they give you full access from 12 midnight to 12 noon to Studio A with the SSL 4000 console in it. Because
Oh,
you're supposed to go in there at night to practice all your shit.
yeah.
I lied to them so that I played dumb. Like I didn't know. Like I went to all the classes for 3 months. And by the time the second quarter or semester, whatever started, they gave us access. All the kids in my class were not signing up for it. They were scared of that thing. I knew
Right.
how to use it. And so I flew a client, and if he sees this, his name is
Right.
Kazuki. He's a Japanese singer-songwriter in Austin. I flew him to LA, and the record I started while I was still in college, we finished at night on the SSL. And what's funny is the teaching assistant that they left behind to like help kids like patching stuff and what's 10K do and all this shit.
Right.
I would walk in, like, I never forget him. His name was Joe Testai. I don't know if he still works there. And I go, Joe, I understand that you think I'm going to come in here and practice turning these knobs. I'm going to be working on this console, multi-channel, excuse me, printing compression and EQ to Pro Tools, and you're going to assist me. And like I
Oh,
made a teaching assistant assist, and the school did not know what was going on in there. So I finished records, made money to pay my rent in Santa Monica for half a year from that. And then yeah. I mean,
oh,
come 2 years later, I meet you, and I'm already producing. And at the time I meet you, I am now working. At the time you and I meet, I am
right.
now working alongside. Oh my God, the prolific gods themselves, bless their souls, are both gone now.
Yeah.
Brian Karlstrom and Dave
Oh,
Jerden.
oh,
So I start working with them. I open a studio in tandem with Brian Karlstrom on Magnolia in Burbank called Transformer, and that goes fucking wild. And then we open a bigger one on Lake Street in Burbank. And really, man, it was about 2005, 2006. I bought that house and I built that studio, and I said, it's time to go independent. Will LA accept me? Will I have a career? When you and I met, I was scared to go to that level. And that's basically, I think, the story. I try to make it as short as I could.
holy shit. Okay, hold on,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
No, 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 no,
I'm
no.
trying to be cool with your time, bro. Like,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Can you tell people about Brian?
Yeah, Brian. So Brian Karlstrom, bless him, man. That guy, God, one of the sweetest souls in the world. Really humble. So people that just want a quick like sort of nutshell to understand. Nutshell. That's a Alice Chain song. He is the engineer that worked directly with and under Dave Jerden, producer Dave Jerden. And if you guys don't know about him, I mean, we can bring up Rolling Stones, Billy Idol, Jane's Addiction, both Ritual and the one before it. Jerden did Alice in Chains Facelift with Man in the Box.
Wow.
And then when he's transitioned to do Dirt, the iconic Alice in Chains Dirt,
Yeah.
he that's when he got Brian as an engineer, and they stayed together and they went and made fucking Anthrax, Son of White Noise, White Zombie, More Human. I mean, they just went the most prolific, all the records you and I like love that shaped us was
Yeah.
those two, and so Brian was the engineer for that. And when Brian decided to go independent as a producer, I slotted in and I became an engineer for him, and that was the end of my history and why I record guitar so well, because of him. Yeah.
Can I? I'm going to explain this to people. Okay.
Please do.
And I don't think people understand how close you get to sounds, how they play. I mean, you got it. I'm like, this dude's incredible. Like,
Thanks, man.
I'm not blowing smoke up your ass or
I know you're
anything,
not. I know you're not.
I'm just being truthful, like on any instrument. It doesn't matter, like I've never, like I had to help had you to even coach me like on some parts, that I've done with Dead and Amelia or whatever. It was just amazing that how much you understood everybody's instrument. Um, but I also
Appreciate
wanted,
that.
no, man, you deserve that, to be.
Thank you.
I wanted to let everybody know that. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Will Dorsey Jr. Talk Music Podcast. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, that little red button on there. Just hit it. That will help me out tremendously. If you can also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, that will also help me. And if you wanted to download our podcast on Apple or Google or Amazon or even Spotify, you can check us out on there. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, 𝐸 Studio, the new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their 𝐸 sessions on social media. Visit ERS on 𝐸studio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps stores.
Visit us on www.talkmusicpodcast.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download our podcast on Apple, Google, Amazon, and Spotify.